So you're back in the pediatrician's office again. It's the third ear infection in 4 months, maybe even the fifth round of antibiotics since your child turned one. And the doctor pulls out the prescription pad again, gives you a reassuring smile, and says some kids just get sick more often. They'll grow out of it. But here's what's keeping you up at night. Other kids don't live like this. Other kids in the same classroom, exposed to the same germs, playing with the same toys, they bounce back in days. Your child holds on to it for weeks. The congestion never fully clears. The dark circles under their eyes have become permanent, and you're starting to wonder if growing out of it is just code for I don't know what else to tell you. So let me give you some numbers that explain what you're actually experiencing. Around 5 out of 6 children, that's 83%, will have had at least one ear infection by their third birthday. But here's the alarming part. According to a large study covering more than 2.1 million ear infection episodes between 2005 and 2019, 77% were treated with antibiotics within 3 days of diagnosis. That same study found that watchful waiting, which is the approach where doctors actually wait to see if the body can fight the infection naturally, was limited and stagnant throughout the entire study period. In other words, doctors aren't even trying to let kids' immune systems do their job. And here's the kicker. A 2021 analysis found that by age 5, 93% of US children had received at least one antibiotic prescription. Nearly every child in America has been on antibiotics before kindergarten. So if your child is stuck in the can't kick the sick cycle, you're not imagining it. And it's not just bad luck. There's a neurological reason your child stays sick and stuck while others stay healthy. And once you understand it, everything changes. And what I'm about to share with you isn't something your pediatrician learned in medical school. It's not something that most functional medicine providers even test for, but it's the missing piece that explains why some kids build strong immunity naturally while others get trapped in a cycle of chronic illness. And it comes down to one critical question. Who's controlling your child's immune system? Because here's what almost no one talks about. Your child's immune system doesn't operate independently. It never has. Your child's immune system, the nervous system, and the hormonal system aren't three separate systems working on their own. They function as one integrated unit, and it's what researchers call the neuroendocrine immune supersystem. You can think about it like a three-legged stool. If one leg becomes wobbly, the entire thing tips over. You can't stabilize it by only focusing on the legs that look fine. Our nervous system serves as the master control, the air traffic controller coordinating all the other systems. It regulates immune responses. It determines whether inflammation turns on or off. It decides if your child mounts an appropriate defense against a virus or an excessive, exhausting one. And when the nervous system is stuck in stress mode, immune function becomes chaotic. Some kids become immune suppressed and catch everything that goes around. Others become hyperactive, severe asthma, allergies, massive reactions to bug bites, eczema that won't resolve, and many swing between both extremes. And this explains why your child stays sick while other kids in the same environment stay healthy. The difference isn't immune system strength, it's whether their nervous system can properly regulate their immune system. And the key to that regulation is one nerve that most parents have never heard of. So, if the nervous system controls the immune system, where exactly does that control happen? What's the actual connection between the brain and the body's ability to fight infection and turn off inflammation? It all comes down to one nerve. So there's one nerve that controls most of your child's immune regulation, and most parents have never heard of it. The vagus nerve, or what was once called the wandering nerve, is the longest nerve in your child's body, running down from the skull, through the brainstem, down through the neck, past the heart and the lungs, all the way to the digestive system. This is where 70 to 80% of the immune system lives, and it's where about 80% of all of the neurotransmitters or the chemicals that the brain uses for focus and concentration and learning actually lives. Now, the vagus nerve acts as your child's inflammation on off switch. Here's how it's supposed to work. There's a detection phase where the vagus nerve sensors throughout the body detect inflammation, whether from an infection, an injury, or an immune response. There's a processing phase where this information then travels up to the brainstem where it's evaluated. Is this a real threat? How strong should our response be? Then there's a response phase. The vagus nerve sends signals back down, releasing calming chemical messengers that suppress excessive inflammation and prevent the immune response from spiraling out of control. And then there's the resolution phase. The inflammation does its job. It fights the infection, it repairs the damage, and then it turns off. Your child recovers and returns to their baseline health. But when our vagus nerve isn't functioning properly, kids get stuck. The fire alarm keeps blaring even after the fire is out. Chronic inflammation becomes their baseline instead of the exception. Think about it like a car with two pedals. The sympathetic nervous system is our gas pedal. It activates the fight or flight and ramps up inflammation. The parasympathetic system, which is controlled by our vagus nerve, is the brake pedal. It calms everything down and allows for recovery. And many kids today are stuck with the gas pedal pressed to the floor and a brake pedal that barely works. These are the kids who can't kick the sick. So the question then becomes, what breaks the brake pedal? What causes the vagus nerve to stop functioning properly in the first place? For most kids, it happens before they even take their first breath outside of the womb. And it happens in a place most parents and most doctors never even think to look. Here's what most parents don't realize: the vagus nerve exits the skull through the upper neck, right where birth trauma tends to occur. Because during birth, especially with interventions like C sections, forceps, vacuum extractions, or even Pitocin inductions, the delicate upper neck area experiences forces it wasn't designed to handle. Now, this physical trauma creates what we call subluxation. It's a combination of misalignment and neurological interference, specifically within the upper neck, and it disrupts the vagus nerve's ability to communicate properly between the brain and the body. Your baby's nervous system gets stuck in survival mode before they've had the chance to survive. The gas pedal locks down, the brake pedal stops working, and then the immune system loses its master control. And this is what happens next: colic that's dismissed as normal, but it's actually vagus nerve dysfunction affecting digestion. Reflux treated with Nexium or Prevacid, suppressing symptoms while the gut immune connection stays broken. And then ear infections starting around 6 months when the birth trauma inflammation finally manifests and the lymphatic system can't drain properly. There's tongue ties and difficulty latching because the vagus nerve actually controls the swallowing muscles and our tongue movement. Or there's torticollis, where the head tilts to one side, the visible evidence of upper neck tension. And then there's chronic constipation from the start because our vagus nerve controls gut motility. Now, these aren't just random challenges, they're all vagus nerve dysfunction patterns pointing back to that original birth trauma. But here's where it gets worse because it's not just the birth trauma, that's where it starts. What happens next is what we call the perfect storm because it's not just one thing, it's the accumulation. We call it the perfect storm. Prenatal stress affecting the developing nervous system, birth trauma creating stress, tension, and subluxation, and then the early childhood cascade: antibiotics disrupting the gut microbiome, environmental toxins, processed foods, and sleep deprivation from nervous system dysfunction that just can't relax. And this is the vicious cycle that parents live in. Nervous system is stuck in fight or flight mode, creates poor gut function, it weakens our immunity, which creates frequent infections where antibiotics get prescribed, and then the gut function is damaged even further. Our immune system worsens, which then creates more infections. Round and round and round it goes. And this is the truth that most parents aren't told. Kids don't grow out of it, they grow into it. The colic at 2 months becomes constipation at 6. The constipation becomes chronic ear infections by 12 months. The ear infections become immune dysregulation by age 3. And then that immune dysregulation becomes anxiety and sensory issues by age 5. The nervous system dysfunction doesn't change. Medicine just gives it different labels as the same problem manifests differently at each stage. in different systems. And this is why supplement changes and diet changes oftentimes plateau. We're trying to strengthen the immune system while the control center is offline. You're replacing the batteries when the entire electrical system is short circuited. So, if that's what's happening, if the nervous system is the master control and it's been stuck since birth, what do you actually do about it? Because there actually is good news. Your child is designed to heal when interference is removed. It's not about boosting immunity with more supplements. It's not about restricting more foods or adding more protocols. It's about restoring the nervous system's ability to regulate immunity naturally, the way it was designed to function before that first stressor hit. Now, at Haven Family Chiropractic, we use the insight scanning technology to measure exactly where the nervous system dysfunction lies. And we're not guessing. We're not just talking about neurology, we're actually measuring it. And then we use specific, gentle chiropractic care to remove that interference, oftentimes specifically in the upper neck, helping to restore the vagus nerve's ability to function as your child's immune off switch. And sometimes our little ones just get stuck in stress mode. And when we ease that nervous system tension, when we remove the interference that's been there since birth, everything can shift. The chronic congestion clears, the ear infections stop, the dark circles fade, and your child finally kicks the sick. So check out the link within our bio, send us a DM, or call Haven Family Chiropractic to schedule your child's consultation and neurological evaluation. And right now, through January 31st, we're running our Gift of Health special. It's our consultation. It's the complete insight scanning. It's the report of findings, all for $97, plus a $300 credit towards your initial restoration care plan. Your child deserves more than they'll grow out of it. They deserve answers. They deserve to be measured and not managed. So let's get them healthy.